Okay. Well, the teeny tiny camera just isn't going to do it for us. So we're just stuck on the phone. That's okay. I'll figure that out later. That's why.
You're like the other 4 cameras that I set up with you.
Right? Hopefully. Yeah, I've been doing this whole weird process, trying to like figure out how to basically capture like what it is that I'm doing, you know? And like there's not a lot of video out there that is just of people's massages that's not like instructional material per se.
Yeah.
So yeah. Just a strategy. I had gone a long time thinking, like I had so many different people who were kind of on the verge of like telling me that they were gonna help me get video stuff set up and like maybe they would help and just different layers of stuff where like I was waiting in a way, you know, like I just felt like that if I had the option to not have to do it completely by myself, that would be nice. And so I would wait when it seemed like a chance, but just kind of hit a point where it's like an acceptance of the extent that I can't like put off what I'm supposed to be doing to see if other people show up. So I'm trying to just figure stuff out on my own and be a new layer of accepting and just like audacious and tenacious about that. So thank you for letting me video you.
I'm so down anytime.
Yeah.
You just need a backup massage model. I can just be that for you.
Perfect.
Like I will just say yes.
Just be my massage model and fairy queen.
Yeah.
That's all I want. There we go. Getting back into those stars. Here they are again. Let them just drift apart from each other. Warm them up a little bit more first. Okay, you can totally tune out if you want to. I'm just gonna kind of chatter weirdly. Okay. I'm just gonna like talk. I don't know. It's like I just end up saying stuff while I'm working that I'm always trying to like remember to write down later and like shoot a video of it or whatever, you know? Yeah. And I just I don't.
I can be your diary.
Perfect. Yes. A massage model fairy queen diary.
Yes.
That's all I ever needed. Alright. So I like the way that your breath is kicking off right now. And I want to just draw these lines up and down through the back to help you feel that symmetry of connection running all the way from the neck into into the base of the spine. I'm just going to spend a little bit of time kind of swirling up and down around to open up that space and draw that awareness in. Because that part of the body being behind us is really difficult comparatively to keep track of. And it's easy for there to just be little places where the movement is not smooth, but we wouldn't know to correct it because it's happening not just behind us, but while we're focused on something else, while we're moving through space, kind of hurtling around. And I want to really support the movement of your ribs by bringing that kind of guided meditation of massage sensation through that in-between space, which is really where you're able to expand. So as your breath flows into the rib cage, it's this movement here that's going to open and close to allow new air supply. Do you have a mental picture of what is going on in your lungs? Not really. Okay, I'll tell you a weird story. A little inside your lungs story. Okay. So if you could dive down inside of your lungs and just be riding inside there with everything happening around you going on, you would be in a world that was like a forest of bubblegum that's already blown into bubbles, but they're trees. And all of them are swelling open and then dropping back down to a tiny portion of the size. And if you were inside of one of these bubbles, you would be getting that fresh air pulling in from outside, and then it would be rapidly shifting. And as that carbon dioxide swaps out for oxygen, the body is pulling that gas exchange through the walls of those bubbles. So the blood is flowing really close by, very, very close by, like you can see it just passing. And the bubbles of not air, but pure oxygen are actually just jumping through the walls of that bubblegum, the alveoli, they're called, and jumping straight into the bloodstream. So each one is expanding and then dropping back down and allowing the air to freshen inside of the bubbles and sending it back out. And then the heart, of course, is quite nearby. So you would be able to feel the heart pushing all of that blood kind of thunderously right past you. And the blood that you're seeing whoosh through the material is coming pretty much directly from the heart, and so there's a lot of force to it actually. And of course that's very, very key. All the cells of the body need access to the oxygen that you're bringing in and releasing on every breath. But if you zoom out a bit from that forest of bubblegum trees, and you zoom out enough that it would be kind of on the scale of what you would actually see looking at a lung, you have a situation that's more like smooth bubblegum, not full of bubbles. Just the lung itself would look to you and kind of feel in your hand like just already been chewed. And they're pretty large. So we've got lungs running from right up here all the way down to rest on top of the diaphragm. And it's actually the muscle of the diaphragm expanding and contracting that's forcing those air bubbles to open up and pull in new air from the outside. They don't have any force of their own. It's just the vacuum effect and the shape of them getting pulled down into your belly that's drawing the fresh oxygen into you. And so that is why when we have these neck muscles really engaged, really stabilizing in the upper rib cage, that's generally a sign that that diaphragm, like we talked about before, is not all the way clicking in to do its job. So let's kind of revisit like what we were working on a few sessions ago. Just feeling that air dropping into the low belly. And becoming really aware of the sensation of the neck muscles and how they're interacting, the relationship that they have with the flow of your breath. And I think you have been bringing a lot of awareness into that, because I continue to see improvement in the low back, in that shaping of where the muscles are engaging to support the spine, where it seems that you've brought more symmetry into that really low mid back. So I'm going to keep giving those neck muscles an opportunity to take a break, to slow down, and to not have to stay so engaged. And it's the most natural thing in the world to get into this pattern where the neck muscles are really overexerting themselves for breath purposes. Because when you have to go into a state of the sympathetic nervous system dominating, so that sensation of fight or flight, it's almost non-negotiable, really base biological impulse to activate everything in your power to bring more oxygen in to the body in that window of time. But because it's operating through these muscles, the muscular system is always learning, and it's always figuring out basically what your life expects and what has come to you in the past is the clue that your muscles are putting together about what's probably going to happen to you in the future. But they're not always right, because you're not going to keep having that same situation constantly. Much more of the time, you're going to need your muscles to allow the diaphragm to do its job instead. And do you feel the pathway where your head is following the pull of your arm through that line in the neck? Yeah. I'm picking that up kind of into the front of the neck. Does that match with where you're getting the most sensation? Yeah. Right through here? Yeah. So that's the restriction. or that muscle is staying really activated even when you're in a relaxed position. So we just want to keep convincing and reminding it that your environment has changed, that you're not still in the situation where it first got that idea to get really demanding about that oxygen in the upper lungs. But now you're back to an environment where your diaphragm action, your low lungs can really live up to their potential. And that will be enough. That breath is perfect. Just make sure to really engage that low space in the belly. And a lot of times we'll get the urge to draw in a breath a bit sharply right when we're expecting something to be a little deep or a little intense. We'll go and see if you can get ahead of it and basically do your in-breath draw so that you're already over the hump of it, where you're slowly breathing out by the time that something is getting more intense. So basically that out breath is governed by the parasympathetic nervous system. And so we're going to get that sense of which system is driving your action to calibrate by using the out breath as a signal of calm and release. So that's the automatic function where the nervous system is using that out breath as the opportunity to open everything up and kind of return to a more neutral state, while the in breath is allowing us to activate and prepare for what's next. So you can actually get quite a lot of control over your nervous system just by tracking with that breath and lining yourself up to be breathing out when something is more difficult or painful or emotionally intense. And anytime that we feel like we're losing control, where there's that sensation of spiraling into the intensity of any emotion, really, happiness, but also sadness or anger, fear, disgust, any of those big central key emotions, like when we hit a level of intensity on those emotions that is beyond our ability to basically predict our own behavior, that's all going to be part of the sympathetic nervous system. And so gaining more awareness and control of when you're switching back and forth allows you to be a lot less reactive to the environment and to have more time to make a conscious decision about how you want to act, both on an expressive level, like relationally, but like really foundationally into the body itself, where these automatic muscle contractions that are happening in response, that are part of the more animal reflexes of coping with life, that when you have control of this switch between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, then those animal reflexes are going to have less power over you. Which allows you to be a lot more receptive and brave about what's coming your way in life, accepting of the reality of what's really going on. This little spot here is still having a hard time accepting your new reality. So let's just kind of sit with it together and we can both talk to it. A lot of times I'm talking to the body, my own body and other people's bodies, in a way that feels a bit like prayer, or has a spiritual element to it when we're at that intersection of the mind and body. Nice, that release there. That really ricocheted down some other areas of the spine, huh? How's it feel?
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Those referred release patterns. It's a good sign. Partly it's telling us that the nervous system state is changing and that the energy that's going through your neuromuscular junctions, basically the places where we're telling our bodies where to move, how to act, that the like parasympathetic energy is mounting up so that those communication points are getting a chance to recalibrate and become more accurate. So your instructions to yourself are more likely to be followed well. Okay. I like how much that's opened up from the back. I think it's a good time to turn over. So when I'm doing the draping, I'll just say this out loud. I always just put the cushion in between me and the person and kind of pin the sheet that way. And that gives a little more sense of security and control for the person who's turning, so that if they're bonking me, they're not, having to worry about crashing my body. This is one of the subtle little pieces of just trying to make every motion as comfortable as possible so that we're contributing to recentering and reteaching the nervous system which state to be in while we're here doing this work. And then it's always my hope that once you get used to the state of how your mind feels when you're really falling into your body slowly that way and letting the sensations wake up, that you'll be able to achieve this state on your own when you just lay down, put on some music, like stare up at the ceiling for a little while, or start replaying the memories of what it's like to scan through your body and to draw attention to each of these different points in a progressive way, that literally remembering a massage can get a lot of the same neuromuscular shifts and just generally put you into a place where your body is going to optimize your energy to be restorative and start cleaning up all the little stuff that is not quite in the right place or that is ready to get pulled out and disposed of. Little places where the mechanisms are wearing down or less efficient than they need to be. But it's really when we're in this kind of dreamy, trancy, in-between place that the body gets most of its healing work done, just like children mostly are growing when they're asleep. Okay, I'm going to turn off the camera.